So Twisters is a standalone sequel to the 1996 movie Twister. This one starring Daisy Edgar Jones, Glenn Powell, Anthony Ramos. The gist of this movie is you have a group of storm chasers. They're trying to conjure up this sort of tactic / device that if you go into a tornado, shoot off this device into the tornado, this experiment rather, it should in theory cause the tornado to stop. It will drain the moisture from it and it will cease to exist. Along the while, there's a bunch of different groups of storm chasers, a bunch of people pursuing these twisters for various purposes, and a bunch of destruction happens because, you know, tornadoes. I went into this movie feeling like it was meant to be Twister, but for a new audience. I can admit right now, I have never seen the 1996 movie Twister. I know it's hailed as one of the better disaster movies out there. People had a lot of fun with it. It was, I guess, very big for its time. It's just one of those movies that completely slid under my radar. And even after this movie was coming out, I never really felt the need to visit it for myself, see what it was about. But the good news that I heard is Twisters was not meant to be something that you needed to see Twister in order to understand. Apparently, it doesn't have a whole lot to do with the original Twister. It's solely meant to be a modern day version of what that disaster movie was like. And what we got here was a fun summer blockbuster in Twisters. Start off with the characters in this movie. Okay, Daisy Edgar Jones, I actually really got on board with her. Because right out the gate, you can see exactly why what she's trying to create, what she's trying to make to stop tornadoes matters to her. Like what maybe started off as like a fun little experiment, science project that she had been working on for a while, quickly turned into something that mattered a lot more to her. Something happens towards the beginning of the movie, the experiment doesn't go quite right, and for some time she kind of just like stays away from that. She just works with like a weather department or whatever, and then she's kind of called back into action, and that's her cue to kind of start research again, figuring out what went wrong. But what I really liked with her character right there, it's like they didn't just make her this Mary Sue who's brilliant with this technology or with this science shit or anything like that. Her experiment was tried at various different points, and it never quite worked, and shit happened because of it. Makes her feel like a failure, makes her feel like an underdog, makes her feel like someone who's gonna work to get her way back up in this world. But at the same time, it's not like she's someone who just doesn't do anything either and is just like completely dead to the tornado crew now or anything like that, or the people who work with tornadoes. I mean, she's clearly very smart. She understands how these things work, what sort of weather conjures up the tornadoes. She was still able to be a likable but damaged character. And yeah, let's talk about the other standout in the movie, the guy who in the last few years has really become a massive star in the movie industry. Glenn Powell is great in this movie. I will say, Glenn Powell in this one does remind me a lot of the character he played in Top Gun Maverick, Hangman. Like, you know, the cocky, chauvinistic, hotshot rival with the main character. Because what I like seeing with him is he has the mentality, it's like, if you're afraid of something, don't run from it, pursue it. Like, the fear is what makes you alive. It's what makes you human. It's like, going after these tornadoes, he's like, that's what gives me the will to live every day. It's that excitement, it's that thrill, it's that danger. In the crew that was with them, they're all these like insane, wild, sort of cowboy kind of people. They pursue these tornadoes, they drill themselves right into the ground, they just experience it. They do some pretty wild shit too. I mean, at one point they like drill themselves in the ground, they're launching fireworks in the tornado. I'm like, I don't know if that's ever been done before, but you know, these people are YouTubers and I'm sure that's gonna get some hits. But similar to his character in Top Gun Maverick, he starts off as this guy who's kind of like meant to be sort of that rival to the main character, but as time goes along, you really grow to like the character and you see how much he grows. Also, I really love the banter between him and Daisy Edgar Jones. It like kind of feels like flirting somewhat, but it also feels like, no, I know more than you do, you're not as good as you think you are, and you're not as smart as you think you are. It's like it starts off as that banter, but you feel like they grow to help each other and assist each other in what they do in this storm chasing. Yeah, from a visual standpoint, from a sound standpoint, the movie looks and sounds great. The tornadoes when they show up, the wreckage they cause, the way they sound, and the weather, it all looks spectacular. Especially when you see this movie in IMAX like I did, it really makes you feel like you are in a tornado. I felt my seat vibrating a few times. It brought me there. I will say this much though, is the movie groundbreaking? Is it gonna absolutely like blow your mind and show you something you've never seen before? Not necessarily. And with that being said, this being a disaster movie, like pretty much any disaster movie that's ever been made, you're gonna have to suspend your disbelief quite a bit when you see this movie. Like there are moments when certain characters survive or certain characters just do certain things when something's going on that cause you to go, I don't think that's something you should have pursued right there. That also probably would have killed you. But you know, a character must get through it for the sake of the story, or you know, you can't show something happening because I'm pretty sure the movie was PG-13. Yeah, it was PG-13. So that's kind of the other bummer right there. I wish the movie showed a little bit more of when certain towns and lands got absolutely just wiped out by these tornadoes. Now, the movie does do a good job at showing the initial impact a tornado has on a town and everything like that. But for me, I think I would have been affected a lot more from an emotional standpoint in this movie if they showed a little bit more of when these towns get absolutely destroyed. Because there are moments in this movie, the tornado impacts and strikes and people are in a frantic panic trying to get to shelter, trying to get underground. And because the movie's so focused on the main characters, it doesn't really show exactly what the town's going through. It shows what they're going through, and then they wind up in a town that got hit by the tornado and people have just lost everything. And I think I would have appreciated more if they explored more on that aspect, because then I would have been affected a lot more by it. Also, as fun as the movie can be with its storm chasing and everything that goes with that, there are some moments where the movie does drag a little bit. I mean, there's a moment where two of the main characters kind of just end up at this farm and they're there for what felt like a lot longer than it probably should have been. I mean, you kind of understand why. You kind of need to give the people a break from battling these tornadoes for so long. I mean, they've lost people, they've seen people lose everything that they have. You feel like they kind of needed a break. I get that. But for me, from a movie standpoint, it felt it just lasted a little too long and I was just starting to get bored from it. Also, Daisy Edgar Jones, Glenn Powell, they're by far and away the two best characters in this movie. They're the ones you get the most attached with, involved with. There are others that I feel like the movie wanted you to care more about, but it didn't really. Namely, Anthony Ramos' character. I mean, he's a part of like this corporation that, you know, deals with storm chasing, deals with the aftermath of tornadoes and everything like that. But I never really felt the movie knew exactly how to make us feel about him. Like, yeah, he goes way back with the main character. You feel like, oh, maybe they have a friendship or a dynamic or something like that. Or maybe he's supposed to be another rival to Glenn Powell or something like that. Or maybe he's supposed to be an antagonist because the company he works for is kind of shady. I never really knew what to feel with his character, and as a result, I kind of just didn't end up caring about him. I will say as much though, the end of this movie I thought really brought it home. The final act was awesome. Shit's really going down. They gotta get something right. If they don't, it's going to be bigger consequences than anything they have faced. Not gonna lie, it got me amped up and they really brought it home and I really enjoyed the ending. For me, it brought the movie up a little bit. So all in all, Twisters, yeah, it was a fun blockbuster movie. Daisy Edgar Jones, Glenn Powell, they're by far and away the two best characters in this movie. I love their banter between each other. Their chemistry I thought was great. Visually it looks great. It sounds awesome. It's some really exciting storm chasing shit when it goes down. Does a good job at showing the destruction that tornadoes leave behind. I do wish they could have capitalized on that a little bit more to make the movie more emotional when it wanted to be. There's some characters I wish I cared about a little bit more. It wasn't as well paced as I thought it was going to be. But in the end, I will say, I do think this is one of the better disaster movies we've gotten in recent years. And this is another movie that's right now crushing at the box office. It's the type of summer blockbuster people want to go and have a good time with. And it's doing just that. Granted, I don't know how well it's going to continue its box office run with Deadpool and Wolverine coming in a couple days, but if they can get through that, movie could still turn a nice profit. Could totally say that right now. The poor suckers who forgot to get their advance tickets for Deadpool and Wolverine just show up, think they're gonna get in, movie sold out, they're just like, oh fuck, well, we're already here. Wanna go see Twisters? Sure. Yeah, there you go. Twisters can benefit from being a second choice. So that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video, and as always, don't forget to leave comments, like, subscribe, and I will see you all next time.